Okay, it's Vachara. That's the Hashem we're going to start today from Hamad Bays and see how far we get. I'm going to finish the parak of Hashem. Zach the Mishnah. Al pi shnayim edim ashosh edim yamus hames. So the pasuk says that either two or three people have to be made on something that edus would qualify to kill somebody who's chayav misa. So if I say two, then what do I need three? What's it becomes to be myself, right? Two is bechal three. Three is bechal two. So if I say that no, two is bechal three, otherwise. If I say that two people are kasher so of course three people are kasher. Ella, what's the common person tell you? Lahakish shnayim shlosh shnayim or shnayim shlosh ma'il shlosh mazimer es shnayim av shnayim yizamu es hagimel. If two people can be mazim three, three people can be mazim two. In other words, it doesn't have to be two and two. Like two could be mazim three, and three just like three could be mazim two, two could be mazim three. We don't have to make. How do you know that two could be mazim 100? Now we said in the previous Mishnah that there's a machlekes whether you could be mazim 100 katei edim. We were talking about that there's 100 people coming together. We're going to see the qualifications for that later, but 100 kat, 100 person kat, not 100 kitei edim. To make the nafkamina between this Mishnah and the Mishnah before. When it says when it's moisiv edim apishnayim. Edim, Edim, that's coming to be marba two, that's going to be marba another one, the Lashon Edim is going to be marba even 100. And the way that it does that is by even adding one more to three. And once I have four against two, there's no svara between 4 and 1,000,000. That's how they break it down. Rabbi Shimon says another drasha from the pasuk, a different drasha from the pasuk. Amir mashnaim in an haragan asher yushnaim zaymin, just like by two, I cannot be mazim them until both of them are edim zaymin. Av shleisha in an haragan asher yushloshlan zaymin. If I have a kat of 3 edim, they all have to be mezumin. Mezumin is probably not the right word. Mizamnin. They all have to become edim zaymin. So Adam have to say that we were with all of you in a different place. Now I don't think, and there's no, I can't hear a start to say that they all have to be Muslim by the same kat Adam. So in other words, if Reuven, Shimon, and Levi say Adis about someone killing, and then 2 Adam come and say that Reuven and Shimon were with us in Miami, and another 2 Adam come and say that Levi was with us in San Francisco. As long as we have edus that they all 3 of them were not at the time of the alleged event when they said they were, then that should be enough that they're all Muslim. They don't have to be all Muslim at the same kat in the same place. Same idea. But he argues and he says like this. Now he's not arguing on the halachas of the previous Tanam. He's moided to those halachas, but he's saying that's not what the pasuk is coming to tell me. He's saying those. The Rashi explains that Rabbi Kiva is saying that those halachas I know memela. So what's the pasuk coming to tell you? Loiba hashlishi. This number 3 that the pasuk adds in lahakol. He's not coming to be mekel, which would sound like Rabbi Kiva is arguing on the previous halacha, but he's not. Ella lahachmer. It's coming to lahachmer velasas dina kiyetz be'elu. And the throwing this third guy is part into the party. In other words, like this: 3 Adam come and they say Reuven killed Shimon. Now, this would have been accepted even if just the first 2 Adam came. I don't need a third guy. 2 Adam, they got Reuven, say that Reuven killed Shimon. Bezdin accepts the Adis. They do Jushef and Kira. They kill Reuven. The third guy can say, like, listen, you didn't really need me here. I was the last guy in. This would have been done anyway. And then they're all Adam Zayman. They all become Adam Zayman. So all of a sudden, the tables turn now. They're up on the electric chair. So now, all of a sudden, Levi, the third aide, gets nervous, and he's like, "Look, I didn't need to be here. No one asked me to come. I was here anyway. I just walked in, but you didn't. My testimony was not integral to Reuven getting convicted." And in the Torah's commentary, Ahmed says, "No. If you join this bogus aidis party, then you get the einish, even if we didn't need your aidis." In Cain, Anashakasav. So then, and Rabbi Kiva learns out from here, and we see from here. Then came Anash Akasav Litval Laiveyaver Kaiveyaver Achas Kama Kama Yishalim Schar Lenitval Laisei Mitzvah Kaisei Mitzvah. So again, that's the halach that he learns out. Al Shnaim Shleisha, that Shleisha is coming to be married. That even though I don't need the third guy to say either on what happened or what didn't happen in this case, because he joined the bandwagon and they all become Muslim, then he also falls in the category of a Sisam Makash Zamam, and he gets punished whatever it is, whether it's money, whether it's Malchus, whether it's Misa. Now we bring out Alachas Kamakam. We always know that if for doing something bad, even though you weren't needed, a person gets punished if he joins the bandwagon. Alachas Kamakama, if he's involved in a shul function and he contributes in a way that he feels insignificant, let's say. That's just one example. If everyone's being Isaac and he pitches in his small way that he doesn't feel that he was mamish, he wasn't typhus makam really. But a person who joins a movement and joins something that's the ta'alas for a mitzvah, alachas kama. Okay. Okay. Another halach. Nimtza echad mehen karva pasal. Eidosim betela. Av shleishim nimtza echad mehen karva pasal. Eidosim betela. Minayin af meya. Tamalay me'edim. Same idea. So we're going to go through this halach again. So again, the same way, if two people, one of them is fine karva pasal, obviously it's possible because I only have 180. So two of three people, if I have three people, again, this is all the din and kat echad, and the Gemara is going to explain that. But this is not a bunch of different edim coming at different times, whatever. This is all one group of edim, kat, kuf, tes, taf, kuf, taf, all one group of edim that they say they're edis, and if one of them is nitzim kavar apostle, so if, let's say you have three people, and one of them is a relative to one of the guys in the court case, or one of them is a degenerate gambler, right? Or whatever the psul might be. Then the whole cut goes. They send them all home. So if it's two, of course, you don't have edis because only one guy left. Even in three, you don't just like leave the guy outside and the other two edim are good. The whole cut gets thrown out. So even 100, so have 100 people coming together, and if they get classified as one kat, and one of them is a private apostle, then the whole thing gets thrown out. I'm going to see, but when do we say this halacha? This is also Rabbi Kiva. Rabbi Kiva is saying two halachas. Kiva is saying, say that the third person is also gets punished, even though he was not integral to the verdict or to the verdict of the nidan, the false verdict. And that's one halacha. And the second halacha is that if one of them is nimtza kaver pasal by a 3-person or even 100-person kat, then the whole thing gets thrown out. Now Rabbi Yossi argues, and this is machlekes. We're going to have two Tanah, Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi. You're going to argue in what Rabbi Kiva said. So Rabbi Kiva said as halacha stam, and Rabbi Yossi is saying when Rabbi Kiva says halacha b'din nefashis daf b'din nefashis b'din mamanis tiskai me'edas b'shar. We have a reason by b'din nefashis. It's v'tzilu es eda. There's a special halacha to be matzel to find. I'm not sure if that's the right drasha, but there's a special pasuk that we have a chiyuv to find extra schusim by din and nefashos. So because there's a way to throw out the whole thing by carve apostle, that's why we throw out the whole edus. But by din and mamanis, it's the sky edus, whatever's b'shar. In other words, 3 people walk at the bez, and one of them is they say, "Oh, this guy Ruvain borrowed $100 from Shimon." We find out throughout the questionnaires that one of the edim is a karev to Ruvain. So we say, "Tzaddik, please wait outside," and the other 2 edim are going to continue with the process. Rabbi Yemer, no. What's the caveat in Rabbi Yehuda's then? But if they weren't masubahan, Rabbi is saying that no, it's by both din nefashis and din mamanis. But so that's not the qualification. What's the caveat? Where's the connection in Rabbi Kiva's then? That it has to be that they showed up as Adam. Now Rabbi's qualification of Hisrabahem that they gave the guy a sra is not exclusively that caveat. It's any way for them to sign up as Adam. The way we know that it's lav dafka is because he said echadin imamanis, echadin nefashos. There's no hasra b'din imamanis. Din imamanis is just a transaction, people just being made on a transaction. The guy lent him $1,000. The guy bought a property. There's no asra over there. So by the fact that Rebbe says asra, it doesn't mean asra mamish. It just means that any method that we're going to be able to realize that these guys are signed up to be edis, and we're going to see in a second how we figure that out. So this whole thing, this whole Mishnah qualifying Pat Echad and one group of Edom coming and disqualifying all these different rules and we have all the Tanam. That's all that they all said. In fact, the Gemara I don't understand that. What's Sechid Dibur? Shalom Alecha Rebbe, Shalom Alecha Rebbe Yumayri. It's a couple of seconds, right? Kadeshi Shivas Tam Rav. It's a few seconds. Mea Tuva Hava. 100 is zikr too many. You're not going to get 100 people in those 3 seconds to say they're edus. So the Mishnah says afilu mea. So how does Rava make any sense? Amalei, no. It doesn't mean that they all have to be within 3 seconds of the start of the court case or from the first guy when he starts talking. They all have to be they all have to be within technidibur of each other. So the second one guy finishes, you have 3-4 seconds for the next guys to come. So it's mamash a line out the door. Imagine a line out the door, people coming in. They say the 8 is the second. They say, okay, finish. The next guy walks in and starts talking. And as long as you have constant talking and constant Kabbalah's edus from Bezdin, all those people are in one kat. If they take a lunch break and they say, okay, it's 12:30, we're going to go out we're going to go out for lunch. Come back in a half hour. Whoever comes after lunch is a new kat. Okay. So what's the Gemara is going to be medayik here? So if you're going to say according to Rabbi Yossi, this kasha is in Rabbi Yossi. The kasha is Rabbi Yossi says that it doesn't matter. It's dafka by din nefashis that they're batal, which means that he does not care if they were master or not. He does not care if they signed up as Adam. Anybody who by chance witnesses something or happens to be there, they're part of the kat, they're part of the edus, and they have to, and they're all in this group to if they're nimtza karva pasol, they're about the whole thing. The harug himself, the guy who was killed, should be matzel his killer. Why? Because he witnessed the killing. Now he's not a karv necessarily, but he's a signer. And Taisus explains. Taisus explains if it's a signer, if it's out a baldin, a karv. But Harig is out sana, and Reveh would be something else. The Taisus goes through the technicalities of what the psalls of each one. The Harig, the killer, the killi the dead guy should save the guy who kills him. No, it's not Edim Zayim. In a regular case, if you're telling me that this is nothing to do with Edim Zayim in this kasha is in a regular case that Reuven kills Shimon. If Shimon witnessed the killing, then he lets Reuven off the hook because he is a puzzle in his own court case. Let's say outside, simple, right? He hates Reuven. He cannot testify against him, even though he's dead, so he couldn't testify anyway. But he should pass him. He should pass the edus. He should pass the group that's going to say it. Yatzel, the Gemara. He kills him from behind, so he never witnesses it, and he doesn't see it and finish. Now, what I don't understand is, Rava said that this whole sugi is talking about that the only kat echad if they all came to Bez and testified at the same time. So in Rava, I don't understand this question. So it could be that Rav Papa does not agree with Rava in this Mishnah. He says that that's not the din of kat echad, or it could be that Rava is not saying his halacha on Rabbi Yossi's din. I don't fully understand how this works with what Rava just said. The same thing. The nirva, someone who sodomizes somebody, then you should save the person, that the aggressor. And the same thing is Ravu me'achayv. Hayrig v'roive yatzo. Hayrig v'roive yatzo. What about hayrig v'roive yatzo? A person should. What about the person himself? If Reuven, when Reuven commits the act of murder, he himself witnessed the act of murder, and now he's part of the kat, and he should pass the whole group of Edom. Ishtik, so he didn't have what to answer, because right, there's no workaround. It's only talking about people who are coming to be involved in the case. It's not talking about people who stam happened to witness it. It's talking about people who signed up to Bezdin to testify. So you see, they went to Rava himself. You see that Rava did not answer this question the way I wanted to answer. Of that, the whole thing is only negay if they come testify. So obviously I'm missing something. It could be that Rav is only going on top of the first part of the Mishnah, and Rabbi Yossi would have a different way of bringing, or he wouldn't say that karacha is a problem. He wouldn't say that it's a din in the Rabbi Kiva's din wouldn't be going in karacha. which again I'm not I don't fully understand that, but it seems it's there's something that something pretty basic that I seem to. Okay, okay. I have to look at that a little bit more. There's more right there. Rabbi Yossi. So again, so just to clarify, Rav has said very simple that this din, at least according to Rabbi Kiva's halacha of that people are going to, if the people witness it, that they're in Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi's understanding in Rabbi Kiva that when the people witness it, they parcel out one cat. And it's only people who signed up to give aid, not people who happen to have witnessed it. So dealing more right there. How do we find out if they are part of this karanat? This is what we say. Did you come to just watch and see what's going on in the court? You're just sitting around, or you came to give aid this? Asu nimtza acham mehem karva pasal it doesn't betela. Amel mechsi asu mayas shnei nachem shiro be'echad shahargas nefesh. So you see clearly the Rav is going on a different half of the Mishnah, because Rav is the first member of Rav right off the Gemara, right from the Gemara begins, is going on the first group, on the first two 3 halachas, and this whole in Rabbi Kiva's second halacha is a whole different shmuz. We have to go through it again just to see exactly how that plays out, but. Okay, because you see that they have to come in and they have to say something. So what does that mean that they have to be deeper? No, they walked in the best and they said they're Adis, and we asked them to say why are they saying Adis? Okay, so again, the Mishnah says, the Mishnah asks, that's how the Mishnah ends. So it's machlekes. Amaram, whether we hold like Rabbi Yossi that says that the ikr is, we don't care if they're a master. Whereas we care only that they witnessed it and by din and nefashis. In that case, it's possible. And Rabbi and Rachman says like Rabbi that they have to actually have signed up, and in that case, they are. In that case, only when they sign up to be Adam, that's when they are. That's when they're all lumped together to, if one of them is issued, that the rest of them become possible. So the Mishnah right there, Hayushnaim Ryan, I said Mechalain Zeh, Shaim Ryan, I said Mechalain Zeh, Ve'echad Masa by the Emtza. So you have two people coming from different sides of the house. You have different sides. You have people looking out from different windows, or not even from the same house. So you have two people looking from, say, from a courtyard, different opposite sides of the courtyard, and they see something going on in the middle of the courtyard. They see a stabbing, and they see one guy in the middle giving hasra to this murderer. So two sets of Adim. So two people see from one side of the courtyard. The Shnaim roim ma'aseh mechalein zeh. Two people see from the other side of the courtyard. The Echad masabai, and there's one guy in the middle. Elu as elu. Or elu edasan achas. The imlav have elu she'edis. So if the Adim could see each other from across the hall, that's fine. But let's say they can't for whatever reason, the angle or there's something blocking. But if they're not considered Adim, what Aid is then what? Im nimtzas echad mehem zayimlis. If one of them is found to be Adim zayimlis, hu vehein eragim. The Adim that are zayimim plus the guy that they're talking about are punished with capital murder. Why? The capital punishment. Why? Because after the first eight, if they're two separate Adis, then after the first set of Adis are convicted of Adim Zayim, there's still a second set of Adis that witnessed the entire thing, and they can convict the original, the killer. V'hashta v'ashni patura, and the second one, interesting lashon of patura, because there's no tzad to kill them, but in other words, they're fine, and their Adis is accepted. Reisi amal oilam ein haragan at sheyu shnei Adav masrim, but they have to have two Adim. That the two Adim that come to testify, those Adim have to testify, have to give them hasra. Al pishnaim Adim davar echad al pishnaim Adim I'm sorry. Api Shnayim Edim. Al Pi Shnayim Edim, that the Edim have to talk to him and that they're part of the Asar process. Another halacha that's a little bit random, but from the same pasuk. That has to be from the Edim themselves. That cannot be an interpreter. We had a Megillah that the Mordechai is part of the Sanhedrin. They have to know all the languages for this reason, because they have to hear the testimony from the Edim directly and not from an interpreter. How do you know that edus of one and one from two different vantage points is not mitzdaref? The entire pasuk reads as follows. The entire pasuk reads: Al pi shnayim edim oishleisha edim yamus hameis lo yamus al pi echad. So right, so the Gemara is going to break that down very simply. Lo yamus al pi echad. My echad. Now, if you can, my echad. What is this reference to one? Ilay echad mamash. You can say that one person cannot come into Beis Din and convict another person of murder. My Reisha Shemina, I know that from the beginning because it's Reisha Shemina. Why? It's Al pi shnayim edim. It says Al pi shnayim edim. So obviously not one. So elamai echad is echad. My echad. One is not one alone. One is one with another one. That's also not mitzvah. Again, to say that there's absolute one, I don't need the second half of the pasuk because the first pasuk is a pishnayim. So we need a two that's like one, or a one that it has a inyan of two, which is one from one vantage point, one from the other vantage point. They're not mitzvah. We learned this also in the Brayso. Echad apir echad lehevi shnayim sheroyin I say echad mechalein zeh v'echad mechalein zeh ve'in royin zeh zeh, and they can't see each other, so therefore they're not mitzdarif. She'ei mitzdarif she'ei mitzdarif. The lo'oid ella afilu b'zeh echad b'zeh zeh v'chalein echad ei mitzdarif. Even not only that, from one vantage point, one from the other vantage point, they're not mitzdarif. Even one guy walks into see from the same window. You have one, and then a few minutes later, the other guy comes, which means they both saw the same thing from the same window, just a few minutes apart. They wouldn't stand there together. So that sounds. So right now, the Gemara is saying that that's a bigger chiddush, right? That even two people that saw from the same window, but not b'zeh chazeh, they're not mitzdarif. Amalei v'papa b'aya hashel ma echad mechalein zeh v'echad mechalein zeh. The high kachazi kula ma'isa, high kachazi kula ma'isa. Amat la mitzdarfis. I told you the original, right? That like level one chiddush of the Brayso was that one person from one vantage point, one other person from one vantage point is not mitzdarif, and those people each saw the entire Maisa because it was at the same time that they saw it. The high chazi paga Maisa, the high chazi paga the Maisa mibai. Of course, a person that only sees half a Maisa can't be mitzdarif. Now, the question is how you could even have a havamina that the case is talking about a half a Maisa, because a half a Maisa you can't be made at all. If I see someone going like this in the air and about to stab somebody, I can't. The edus is not edus. I'm not sure. I don't understand the havamina anymore. But the question is simply if they each saw half a Maisa, of course they can't be mitzdarif. Maybe that's the kasha, but it's a little interesting. Papa, no, we're talking about. We're talking about this boilus ever. So therefore, what in your kasha of a stabbing where the whole mice is a split second. So the first person sees the knife go in, the second sees the knife go out. Let's say that's the case, right? So you didn't so you don't say that they saw a full stabbing. But over here, we're talking about that they saw one bia session. They're talking about the same mice bia. So they saw, you don't have to see the whole time that they were together. As long as you saw them together, that's enough to be made. So the first person sees at 12 o'clock, and the second person sees 12:15. It's the same Maisa Bia. It doesn't matter. So they each saw a full Maisa just a few minutes later. So in that case, it's a bigger chiddush of Chalein Echad, Zeh Chazeh is not mitzvah. Amar Rava, Im Hayu Royin Es HaMaser Ay HaMaser Royin Ay Sa Mitzvah. He says that he argues on Rabbi Yossi. He says that they have to have two people be master, and those two people have to be the Edom. He argues on this, and he says that the master could be mitzvah of the Edom. Amarava master Amar afilu mifnei atzmai afilu mifnei hashed. It doesn't have to be. We're going to see that he has who to be Samachan. He has not only doesn't have to not be an aid. It could even be the hiring himself, the guy who's getting killed. He'll be like, "Oh, I'm telling you can't kill me because it says in the pasuk, and it says in the pasuk." And if you kill me, they're going to kill you. even the hiring himself could be master, and even a shade, even a shade. In other words, it doesn't have to be any. There's no grace of Torah about Asar. It just has to be that the guy's informed. Amar Nachman, Elus michedes kasher b'din mamanis techsiv lo yamus api erechad b'din nefashas who the ink share av b'dine. It says lo yamus api erechad so we medayim b'din nefashas who the ink share av b'din mamanis kasher. So we see that with Edom Yuchedes, it would be kosher by Dine Mamanis. Now, why? Because we try any shtick that we can pull. I mean, not any shtick, but this would apparently would fall into that framework. We try to do anything we can do to be matzel someone from Mises Bezdin. We're going to see in the Mishnah soon. Yeah, we're going to see in the Mishnah who the like how often people got killed. It wasn't very often, and so if we have a tzarav here that by dine mamanis you could be starve these people together, then if one of them is considered a carver apostle, even though meikar adin by din nefashis it's two separate edim because they're not mitzdarv, but we should be able to be saimach and be matzalim with this idea because by mamanis the mitzdarv and we should pass the whole thing. Alamatran hu behein eragan. So Gemara Kasha we don't have an answer. It usually means we have an answer. We don't know. Obviously, Amar Zakti Gemara Vaita. Amar the Papa says the basis in our Mishnah that what there has to be these two Edom that come into Bezin to testify have to be the guys who are Masa, right? That's what basically says. Amar basically Amar the Olam Ein Haragim actually use Shnei Edom Masrin by the Edom themselves have to be Masrin. It brings down a pasuk. Amar the Papa the Abayo Mi Ister basically high Svarah basically does he even care about Edom? Does he even care about Asra Wachal? Does he so particular about Asra? A signa by and now everyone by we're going to the next part is Elohina Goylan. We're going to discuss the different qualifications. A signa does not go into Galus. That everybody agrees. But Rabbi Yossi holds that he gets killed. Now that's a chiddush, and he holds that because he does not need hasra. He's considered a mazid and not a shaygig. If someone hates someone and he kills him by mistake, he's considered amazing. Now, not only it has restrictions, but let's just take it at face value right now. So he's saying he's considered like he knows what he's doing and he was warned and don't make any excuses. Now again, if we have a valid taina why the guy did not realize that he was killing someone, that's not what Rabbi is talking about. But you see that Rabbi does not care to have all these diktukim about Asor because it's not from the pasuk. It's just the fact to make them know that we just want to know that the guy did it b'mezid. So because he's a sign and we can understand that he did it b'mezid, we're going to kill him. So that means he's not coming from the pasuk. He's coming from just a svara. That's this Rabbi Yossi that you just quoted to me. That a sign is nerag is not Rabbi Yossi from our Mishnah. Is Rabbi Yossi Bar Yehuda. I forgot who the Stam Rabbi Yossi was. It was Nafcha, I think. That's what I remember. The Tanya basically about Yehuda Amar Chaver in Tzarech Hasra Lafisha Loi Nitna Hasra Ela Haftam Ben Shaygig Lemezid. Let's say, for example, Hilchah Shabbos. Tell me a Rav who smokes on Shabbos doesn't need Hasra. Everyone knows halach in Gabe smoking on Shabbos. We're all Chaverim. We're all Tamid Chacham. Everyone knows that they can't smoke on Shabbos. So you don't need Hasra. According to Rabbi Yehuda, nobody would need Hasra by smoking on Shabbos, and a person would get killed for that. I don't know if we're passing like that. But hopefully we'll find out soon. Mashiach comes. We'll see if it's when it's negate. Davar acher. The Mishnah is going to add another halacha of al pi shnai medim that they have to listen to the bezin has to listen to the people themselves. It can't be through a targum. Al pi shnai medim shaloi tehei sarhejin shomes min targum. Hanu loyaze luze. These are foreigners. The asul kamid rava uki rava targum benayu targum. Rava put a translate in between as to help them. How can he do that? We learned. That's not Shalai Tehsen and Shamas the Targum. Rava made to have a yada, ma to have a amri, the adure who the loy have a yada. He did not know how to speak the language, but he understood the language. So therefore, it wasn't an issue of Matagim. The Matagim was for him to be able to respond to the Eidim, but after there's Eidim to be able to give over the testimony to him. So the Gemara, right? The Gemara, right? The Ilav, Tuvia, Kariva, the Arvahava. These two Chava were craving to the Arev on the Shtar. Now, I actually had, but did he have it? This happened to me myself. I was once an Arev on a Tanaim from the Kala side, and the Chassan side was very close with my uncle. So they wanted him to be an aid. They started the process, and the Rav was giving gartels over, and I interrupted the Rav, and I said, "I'm sorry, Rabbi, but I'm an Arev, and this is my uncle. He married my aunt. Is that a problem?" He thought for a second. He said, "Yeah." Pushed away, and he got a new aid. I don't know if I remember from this Gemara or I thought something didn't make sense. But the Rav, this is very chashuv Rav from Brooklyn, he didn't put two and two together because he wasn't coming from my side, whatever. The point is, it's this story happened to me. So if the Ila Vatovia craved the Arev, these two guys, the Edim, were craving to the Arev, not to one of the Baladinim, but to the Arev on the den. So for a Papa he's a Rachik. He's not related to the borrower or to the borrower or to the lender. If the loiva doesn't have, isn't the Mabla going to come after the Arev? So then all of a sudden now this becomes a problem where the Eidim that are signed are craving to the Baldin. In other words, he explained that the Arev is a Baldin as long as he's signed on the shtar and as long as he's responsible for the loan, even though he's not level one responsible, but if he's carrying any responsibility of this obligation, then he's about then, and he cannot be, and the Edom cannot be a karev to the Arev. And so somebody he has his Gemara, then he goes, and then he runs away, and he comes. They bring him back to the bezin that he ran away from. Ain soisin as dinai, ain soisin as dinai. They do not soisin as din, and that's it. They can just continue as programmed, as planned. If two people come to Bezin and say, this guy was convicted in a different Bezin, these are his Edim, this is what happened, they kill him, they don't have to restart the process, and they don't have to retry him. Now, we're going to see the flow of this in a second. Sanhedrin is noyeg in Yisai. No, Sanhedrin that can kill is it's how you know it's in the Chutzars now. The Sanhedrin, the only caveat is that there has to be Sanhedrin Agadol in the Lishkas guys somewhere where the Bezin sat. Lishkas I'm not sure. I forgot what it's called. It's in my mind. But they have to be in their place, and then all the other Batidinim can have their power. But if Bezin's in Golos, like we know now today, there's no such thing as Mrs. Bezin anymore. The Sanhedrin Hareges B'Shvua Nikra Chavanas. A Bezin that it kills once in 7 years is called a murderous Bezin. It's too aggressive Bezin. Once in 70 years is what they. Now the Gemara is going to analyze what he means by that. If we were sitting on the bezin, we would never kill anybody. The Gemara is going to explain that. Also, very nice that you're going to let a bunch of people off the hook, but everybody is going to. You're going to be marbe shayv chidam because no one's going to be scared of bezin anymore, and like you kind of defeating the purpose. So we medayik from the Mishnah that if they're brought back to that bezdin, then they're not says that it didn't, and they start from scratch and they continue as planned. The fnei oised bezdin who they ain't saisin how the fnei bezdin achav saisin that's the deal from the sefer. Hatani sefer call makom shiyam d'shnayim v'yam meidan anu es ish plani shenig madina bezdin shel bezdin plani you plani edav harei zeh nerag. So you see that you're not saying even in a different bezin. I'm a bayile kasha kam be'eretz Yisrael kam b'chutz la'aretz from Eretz Yisrael from within Eretz Yisrael or chutz la'aretz then you're not saying the din. But from chutz la'aretz Eretz Yisrael then you are saying. The Tanya of Yehuda ben Deistaya Amar Mishum Reb Shimon ben Shatach Baruch me'eretz l'chutz la'aretz ein saysin as dinai mechutz la'aretz saysin as dinai. Why? Mefnei zechusa shel Eretz Yisrael because the supposed of being in Eretz Yisrael could maybe open a Pesach for him, and we'll be able to the din will be turned around. But if he's going from Eretz Yisrael to Eretz Yisrael, Chutz La'aretz to Chutz La'aretz, or Eretz Yisrael to Chutz La'aretz, then we are not sliced. Then we're not sliced in, and we continue as planned. So Hadron Haggis, Minahan and Mili, how do we know? The Tanah Ban Vahayu Eila Lechem L'Chuka Mishpal Deresechem, and the pasuk continues. Wherever you live, the man in the Sanhedrin Shenagim Ba'aretz B'chutz La'aretz Im Kain Matam Aloyme B'Sharecha. So what's the mila when it says Shaitim Titan the B'chol Sharecha Asher Hashem Lekach Meisim the Chal Shiftak of the Shafta as Am Mishpat Tzaddik, that pasuk that says what the Sharecha is in Eretz Yisrael. What's the mila of Eretz Yisrael? What's the rekud over there? B'Sharecha Atamay Shabbat Din B'chol everything Mara. Every year in Sharach, in Eretz Yisrael, let's say Plach is a province and every year is a city, you have much more Batidinim. Every year, but you do not have to do in Chutzot, you don't do B'chol every year. You only do B'chol Plach. Now, just I wanted to the Hemshech of the Gemara, I think it's Geshmak, the Mishnah. Why is it bring in that it's not about to b'chutz la'aretz? Because the whole now that the Gemara analyzed the ratio to say that when do you seiser the din only from eretz to chutz la'aretz, then it makes sense immediately afterwards to explain that we have the batidim in eretz to chutz la'aretz. Again, because the Mishnah is talking about the first two cases of the Mishnah are talking about whether they ran from eretz to chutz la'aretz, but it's seiser that. Doesn't say that halacha outright, right? The Gemara has to pull it out. The Gemara pulls it out by understanding that the Gemara follows by saying that Sanhedrin is in Eretz and Chutz La'aretz, and that comes to be mefarish the previous lines in the Gemara in the Mishnah. Sanhedrin hayreges ibaylu achas shivim shan mikras chavanas ayduma arich arahut teku. So wow, he just said this. Rabbi Elazar Azariah says he's saying Echad L'Shivim Shalom, but he doesn't clarify. Is he saying that even 1 to 70 years is a chavanas, or he's saying that's a normal amount? The Gemara says Teku. We'll let Hashem find out tomorrow still. What happened? Rabbi Kiva Amar Ilu Hayinu. Right? What happened says. Rabbi Kiva says that if we were there, we would pat to everybody from Isa. What would they do? How would they let everyone off the hook? Did you see that you killed the guy? You're saying that Reuben killed Shimon. You saw that Shimon was a treifa, maybe he was a shalom, maybe he was a treifa, and again, you're not high for killing a treifa. It's not a good thing to do, and it's for sure isser, but misa you're not going to get. So how do you know that he was a treifa? And even if you say Mavashi, intim Sulaima shalom have, if you see, let's say we did an autopsy, they know that he's a shalom. Maybe he had a hole in his neck. I'm not going to show myself, but if a person had a hole in his neck, and then that's where the knife went into his neck. So even though he did a bedika after Achar Misa, you don't know that. Maybe there was a hole in his neck right where the guy killed him. So the Gemara says, that's very nice by Hayrik. What are you going to do by a bayil? The bayil is the Eva, the Abayev Rav the Amitabayu, Reisam Kimachol Bishvayferis, which is a lashon of that you see the mamish the Maisibiyah. That's usually not so common. Even if you're going to see someone together, if you see them from a distance, even if you see them in the next room, you don't see mamish the ma'aseh bia. You see them acting in a way that you know that you assume there's a bia going on. So you don't see the ma'aseh bia. I'm not being macabre. I'm not going to kill him. What do Rabbanan do? In other words, if you don't see the ma'aseh bia, how do you kill the guy? By to be made on people who are being over it's a arayas, it's a erva, then you don't have to see mamish bia the mamish the ma'aseh bia, but you have to be acting in a way of bia. Now that's a very vague lashon. Rashi qualifies that a little bit, and he says we'll just use the lashon of Rashi. Mishanagu inyan niyuf. Now, it's not that you have a vibe that they're together. You have to see this level of intimacy, this level of behavior, the way Rashi explains it, and that would be the qualifications for putting someone in the chimisa. They don't answer in the Gemara. They don't answer. What does he do with what does he do with the nerag? What does Rabbanan do with the nerag? I would assume that it goes basarayv because that's how we eat or shchita is basarayv also, because otherwise maybe that place where the knife cut the trachea, maybe that's where the kana and the veshet, I forgot what it's called, but maybe that makom is also. So I think we go basarayv. I think we would kill basarayv. Place also goes through what they would do with it by the zara, Michal Shabbos. Yes, I'm Taisus. I think he also deal with the trefa. I think he also brings it into the sugya trefa. When I stop over here, Mitzvah Hashem, pick it up tomorrow night. Batzlacha.